welcome to episode 91 of PauseCast. It is Saturday, the 1st of September 2018. My name is Jessica Alouette, and I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Mark Hanna, I use he, him. Welcome.
Unusual for us to be doing a Saturday record, Mark.
Yeah, it is, but we already had delayed, and then we delayed again because I fell asleep at 7 o'clock on our new record date.
Yep.
So, that was cool.
Sometimes it happens like that, but also, just general exhaustion, and we felt that we could get a better episode out of this if we recorded a little later, so we did. So we get a nice... The light is... There's still daylight outside. It's so weird to be looking at...
Yeah, there's a lot of sunlight streaming into my room, and Gizmo is in it.
Just enjoying
He's just
himself.
in the sunlight. It's quite nice.
It's good. Well, welcome to our show that we do every week about video games, where we pause and reflect on video games. Mark, in brief, what have you been playing this week?
So, I've played more Battletech.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually started playing XCOM 2 again, because of course I have. And I've played the 1.0 release of Dead Cells.
Nice. This week I have been playing Far Cry 5, which I'm going to talk about at length. Please prepare yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Overwatch, which is, pretty normal. And a little bit less this week, but I've been playing Fallout New Vegas still. I have some stuff to talk about there, actually, as well. You want to get into it?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So the thing I want to talk about in New Vegas, and this is going to be really short, because I'm frankly a lot more interested in getting to Dead Cells, Battletech, and XCOM stuff that we have here in this episode.
Okay.
But New Vegas has been kind of interesting for me recently, because I have been kind of avoiding the main story. That thing that you do in Bethesda games all the time?
That thing that I do all the time, every time, yeah.
But I think I have a different reason for it.
Okay.
And it's not because, it's not because the main story isn't worth pursuing or isn't interesting or boring or anything like that. It's because I'm anxious about what comes next.
Do you think it's going to be an irrevocable change in the world or something?
I'm at a point where I've actually been specifically and explicitly warned, hey, if you continue doing this thing, this faction will no longer support you outright. And they're the faction I want to support me, is the thing.
Oh.
So I had been playing along with the House Always Wins storyline, for those familiar with Fallout New Vegas, which meant I got a warning after step 4 in that storyline that says, hey, the NCR has eyes everywhere. If you do not stop this, the NCR will no longer support you.
What format does that warning come in? Is it just like a message?
It comes in a note.
Okay.
It comes in a note that you receive, and it goes into your Pip-Boy.
So, how does that receive? Does someone come up and hand it to you, kind of thing?
Oh, sorry. It's marked as a quest in your Pip-Boy, so it actually shows up as "Don't tread on the bear," I believe.
Oh, so is this a sort of fourth wall breaking? Is not the right thing, really, but it's kind of a meta warning that it doesn't happen in the game universe so much as the game is warning you, if that makes sense.
Yes and no. I think it is a little bit more that fourth wall break. I think it's conceivable that, I don't know, you got a radio transmission and something like that happened, but I didn't specifically hear it. I just kind of had that show up in my quest log. So it's a pretty constant looming reminder hanging over me.
So that's a separate quest that is just saying, hey, if you keep doing this faction will hate you.
Yep.
That's scary.
Yeah, it is. So I'm at this point where I'm experiencing a little bit of choice paralysis, and I'm kind of trying to figure out, okay, how can I get back in the good graces of this faction? I'm still in them, technically.
Okay.
But I need to actually think more about, oh, hey, how am I going to get into the good graces of this faction? Because I don't want to be siding with just the house. I don't think that's in my best interests. and I've already pissed off Caesar's Legion, the other major faction. I've already pissed them off so much by, I don't know, assassinating key figures, just killing a lot of their guys.
That too.
They're just kind of assholes anyway, so fuck them.
Fair enough.
Like, I don't mind that I'm vilified by them, other than the fact that they keep sending hit squads after me. But,
it's alright, they keep dying too, right?
Yeah, thanks to my companions. I think I accidentally installed a few mods.
Accidentally?
Accidentally, as in they've been sitting in this copy for ages, and I just didn't do anything with them. And one of them appears to be a companion mod that lets me have multiple companions.
Oh.
I didn't realize that was a thing.
Right, okay.
That I was using modded functionality for.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was part of the game, but lo and behold...
It's balanced for a single companion?
Yeah, it's not really that it's balanced for a single companion, because... even with two companions, I still struggle against those hit squads. Like, they are hugely powerful.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm sitting on a lot of choice and even power paralysis. Like, how do I get more powerful? I don't know how much more I can do.
Are you quite high level at this point?
Yeah, I'm level 29. Just kind of at this weird point, though, you know?
Yeah, it sort of slows down then as well, so each level you increase takes longer, so what you do with it kind of matters more.
Yep.
Like, I haven't played Fallout 4 in a couple of weeks now, but the higher level I get, the less far ahead I can rely on planning ahead the perks I'm going to pick, because it'll be a long time before I get to the 5th one.
Yeah. Early game's no problem. Like, you kill a couple of geckos and whatever, and you get like 3 levels. But then, yeah, things start to ramp up, and you have to make some hard choices. And I'm a little bit paralyzed by that at this point. So it's a lot of side questing and like, oh, I'm gonna screw around with the DLC. Why not? Like, I did a whole Old World Blues DLC, which was a lot of fun. But
nice.
It was definitely just a diversion from the fact that, oh, I don't know what to do. Oh god.
Gotcha.
And you can't sit on that when you're streaming either.
Oh, of course. I wasn't even thinking of the fact that you've been streaming this.
Yeah, I've been playing it as like a very social experience. And so sitting on something for a long time is a bad thing to try and watch on stream. So I have to make decisions in the moment. Okay, I'm actually, like, I need to do interesting things. Let's go do interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to do this? The whole thing.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, it's weird. Since I don't stream the games that I play, I've never had to worry quite that much about that. It would be very boring to watch me play Fallout because, like I keep telling you, I walk everywhere. It'd be horrible to watch. Nothing happens for like 10 minutes. That might be exaggerating a bit, but still.
You've just reminded me of some of the stuff I'm going to talk about in Far Cry 5.
Yeah?
And I need to divert to you.
Okay.
Talk about Dead Cells before I just get mad about Far Cry 5.
Sure, so I think I've talked about Dead Cells a little on the show before because I played it in early access, which...
I believe you have.
I try really hard not to pick up early access games, but it's got such a nice pixel art style, and it looked pretty complete and polished already. So I've had some impressions previously before now. First thing I noticed starting up now is there's a big ugly warning saying that you should play it with a controller if you don't have a controller plugged in. It actually covers some of the UI, so it was kind of a pain. But, of course, as soon as I plugged in my PS4 controller, it worked perfectly, and it was actually better to play with a controller. But yeah, it's been interesting. I don't know if it's easier or the fact that I've practiced before, but I actually managed to get up to... When I first got up to the first boss, I beat it first time, and I think I'd managed to beat it once previously out of like 12 attempts. And you have to like spend 15 minutes without dying getting up to it in the first place as well. So I don't know if it was easier or I'm better or I was just lucky or what. It might be though that I've really actually started trying to use shields for the first time this time. So when you start the game, actually for anyone who doesn't know about Dead Cells, it's a pixel art action platformer that is roguelike in that you will die quickly and start again quite a lot. You save some progress in the forms of like unlocked items. So you do slowly have overall progression, but still each time you kick back to the start, you get basic stuff again. And when you start, you have a sword and your choice between a shield and a bow. And previously, I kind of always used the bows, and I tried the shield this time and actually finally got it. And I think that might be what gave me the edge against the boss, because I could counter some of its attacks, which previously I would have had to just dodge and therefore wouldn't have been doing damage at the same time. But I've been enjoying it. It's I've had to learn again to not care about the paths I don't go down, because it's more important to just go ahead fast than explore your path, because there are some doors you'll find that are locked on a timer. So if you're not progressing quickly, like if you decide I need to explore this way and this way, you won't get the nice loot behind those timed doors. And that matters because in each run you have to find your build as you're going, so more options are really important. I hadn't really clicked on this until I saw a tweet by Austin Walker about the game, who mentioned the act of finding a build during a run. And it's absolutely what it is. I hadn't really figured it out. Through in the early access, at one point I unlocked a weapon called the Spartan Sandals, where you do a big kick. And obviously it's a reference to the movie 300, but I unlocked them in a level called the Ramparts, where there's lots of big pits for enemies to fall down. And it was great, and I really got the hang of this item, and if I hadn't unlocked it randomly, I wouldn't have got it. And on following playthroughs, I couldn't rely on the same tactic because I was really unlikely to pick up the same weapon. So the game kind of forces you to be versatile and adapt in a way that I'm not used to. I very much find tactics I like and tend to stick to them until they stop working. So this is like the second thing that Dead Cells has forced me to do in a way that I've still enjoyed, which is nice. It's refreshing. I've been enjoying it quite a lot.
The roguelike aspects of this game always make it so there is some aspect of luck and skill in equal parts, I'd say.
Lots of luck, trust me. Some runs you just won't get good equipment, and it makes it harder to survive.
Patrick Klepek, who also works at Waypoint with Austin Walker, he was playing it on stream for Waypoint and was having a really easy time of it for some reason. He went into the game with the impression that it was going to be a hard game, but he in his first run killed 3 to 4 bosses, I believe. It was ridiculous.
I haven't gotten up to any second bosses. I actually stopped my run after the first boss because I got too excited and was worried about messing up. So it's there. You can continue a run you've stopped that way, but okay. I haven't gone that much further than that.
Because it has a save system, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can stop a run and then resume it later.
Okay.
Or you can abandon a run, I think, but that's basically the same as dying.
Enter the Gungeon has a similar kind of run saving system, but it only applies after you have cleared a specific floor. So right. I have had very rare instances where I've been I've cleared the first floor because that's as far as I've gotten, and I don't want to play anymore right now, or I have some other stuff to go do. I will save the run, but it's there. It's just I've never really done that in roguelikes.
This is reminding me of, it's not a roguelike, but of the Stardew Valley save system where you only save at the end of the day. You can't save during a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure you can
you're
save
guaranteed pretty much not to die in Stardew Valley.
It's true, that's true. I'm pretty sure you can pause your run essentially at any point in Dead Cells, but I don't know. I think I've only tried it at the end of the level. Because that's the only time I tend to want to. They do have a level between each level, which is where you spend the resources you got during there. So enemies and chests and stuff can drop items called cells, and if you die, you lose all the cells you've collected. But every time you finish a stage, you go to an area where you're forced to spend them all on unlocking new things. So it's very much, if you make it to the end, you get to use your resources, otherwise you don't. And that's the only point where I've tried to save is that point. And they've added some more stuff there that wasn't in the early access build I played, like there's this thing called mutations now, where at the end of each level you get to pick a mutation. There doesn't seem to be a huge number to choose from, but I don't know if that's just because I haven't unlocked more yet. But I've mostly been picking the one that gives you an extra life, because obviously that can help a lot. But it seems like you get, once you've picked that and used up the extra life, you can't like pick it again after a subsequent level. So it's 1 extra life per run.
I feel like Nuclear Throne, on the note of roguelikes, I feel like Nuclear Throne has a really interesting approach to how it handles like various items and perks and stuff that you get. Weapons you can find all throughout levels, but you can only get perks if you have gained enough experience over the course of a level. So at the end you get to pick your rewards, and there's always just 3, which puts a lot more luck into things and a lot more emphasis on like making the right choices for this build.
But those are for a single run, right? You don't keep them at the end anymore.
Correct, yeah.
Right, yeah, because in Dead Cells you get to spend like, this thing might take 50 cells to unlock, and you can spend 8 to decrease that to 42, and that sticks around to the next run. But then when you first unlock an item, you get a copy of it to try out, but then later on you just basically, if you've unlocked the random starting weapon thing, which takes however many cells, then you would get one of the ones you've unlocked as your starting weapon for a run. But aside from that, there's no guaranteed way to get it, as far as I know, having unlocked it.
It reminds me very lightly of like the idea that you can invest in a thing and come back later and it's the same across runs. That reminds me of Majora's Mask from the Legend of Zelda series, because
I haven't actually played that one.
So there's a bank that you can visit in the game, and that you can store your rupees between runs. You can't store items and stuff, but you can store money. It's a stripped down version of that concept, it feels like.
So when you say between runs, there's a Legend of Zelda game that's roguelike? What?
Sort of.
Is it complicated?
It's based on a 3-day time loop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you relive the same 3 days over and over, and you only...
Is this the one with the creepy moon face?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I have seen that, but I don't know the game.
Yeah, you only keep core items, so like there are special masks and stuff that you keep permanently unlocked.
Right.
But stuff like your ammo, your money, your bombs, all of that is reset between the loops.
Right.
But you can store some of that in a bank, so you can like start out your next run at this next area with like, oh, you know, I have the bow and arrow and I have the bomb bag, but I don't have anything for them, so I'll just go to the shops and I'll grab some ammo, and that'll start out my run.
Yeah, there's a similar thing in Dead Cells there, which is you can unlock the ability to keep some gold when you die up to a certain threshold, and that basically means that if you hit a store early on, you can actually buy something this time. And you can increase the threshold by spending more cells later on. I haven't gotten super far into unlocking things, so I don't know what there is that I haven't seen, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot that I haven't seen. In the like prologue for every run, you go through an area with a whole bunch of hanging glasses that slowly fill up with items, and there are a lot of jars hanging from chains in that room. Far more than I've been able to see unlockable things. But yeah, it's been fun.
I'm glad. I've been meaning to try out Dead Cells. And what do you think is the best way to go about getting my hands on a copy? Is it one of those games that you would say, oh yeah, buy that at full price? Should I wait for a sale? Should I wait for a really deep sale?
I can't remember how much it costs, but I don't think it's that expensive. I'm just opening Steam up to check, but I think it's something around $26.
I believe it's $26 New Zealand, yeah.
Sweet. If I got that right, I'll be real pleased with myself. But I think I bought it at maybe slightly less than that. But it's not like an $80 game. You got to wait for it to go on sale before it's really affordable, or a $100 game. So it's not bad. I know it's come out on Switch. I think it has.
It has
recently, which seems like a really good fit. But I don't know what the prices there, if it's any different.
I believe it would be the same. It is 30 New Zealand dollars. 32
Okay.
if you want the soundtrack, which you know I do.
Oh, I mean, it's you, yeah. No, I know.
Now that we're done with Dead Cells talk,
Yeah.
do you want to get into Battletech?
Yeah, so I can't remember if I've talked about my second run on the show before or not. Because I started one a little while ago where they had a big patch in July, which was around the time I ended my first run, but by that point, everything was assault mechs, so it felt like I'd lost a lot of variety in the end game, so I wanted to start a new run, but I tried it right after I finished my first one, and it's just really hard to start from zero right when you're used to the end game, so I left it for a while, came back, and seeing the differences from that patch for the first time in this run, and it's been good. I've been enjoying the game again, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I had talked originally about how not being able to edit your mech warriors made them feel more like real people, but now that they've added the ability to edit them, I actually really like that.
It kind of gives it more of an XCOM feel, eh?
To an extent, and I'll get to that because XCOM is something I've played as well, so I'll be able to compare them more directly now for the first time. So definitely allowing you to customize them has more of an XCOM feel there. I've been able to play in my sort of parody run, actually make them look and sound like pirates a bit, which is nice. I actually fired the 4 original mech warriors because I wasn't using them and thought, I don't need them. So they all got fired. That was cool. But yeah, it's been nice how being able to customize them like that has made them feel more like a coherent crew, I guess. And you can also, like, if someone gets really horrifically injured, you can give them a scar at that point or something. And being able to look at them and know their history from that is real nice. Or, you can change their hairstyle gradually or something like that. So it's quite neat. Also means that when I'm hiring someone new who's just, like, a blank slate, I can turn them into pretty much whoever I want them to be. I can't change their traits, like if they're brave or whatever, but you can preview some of that stuff, sort of. It gives you their history, like were they a pirate crew member or something. But there are some traits you only find out after you've hired them you can't edit. And they'll just change what options are available when an event focuses on that mech warrior. Like, if a fire breaks out and the mech warrior who's been chosen as the focus has the brave attribute, then they can get a better outcome because they can put it out by themselves because they're brave enough, that kind of thing. It's kind of... I don't know how I feel about it always showing the options that are unavailable when there's nothing you can do to make that option available. It's like, I have this mech warrior over here with brave, but you chose one that doesn't. So, I don't know why you're telling me that option would be available if the game chose the other mech warrior kind of stuff.
Is it not similar to, like, speech checks in Fallout 3 and New Vegas, where you have checks that you can try, but you will definitely fail?
You can't try it. It's just grayed out. It's just grayed out. Yeah. It reminds me of Mass Effect, how if you saw a Renegade or Paragon speech option, like it's a guaranteed success. Like, these ones will have a good outcome, but you can't choose them. In this case, unless you happen to have that thing. And usually it's, this mech warrior doesn't have it, and I can't really change that or choose one who does to do the event or anything. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's nice, I guess, to get an insight into how much there is available there, but showing it when you can't use it just feels like it's teasing you a little bit. But the main thing I've found playing Battletech is just how much I love how terrain is important in this game and how it affects strategy. So going through for a second time now, I sort of have goals to aim for because I know the strategies that have worked for me. So I'm having a lot fewer failures earlier on. I'm more comfortable choosing some more difficult missions. So, like, I've gone against heavy and assault mechs. Well, heavy mechs and an assault mech with only medium mechs and one, although it's been quite tough. But, like, those fights are more interesting when it's close. But the thing that makes a difference is almost always using the terrain well. Like, the most recent one I had where there was an assault mech, I had to, like, wait for everything that I could to move so that I could send all my mechs in they're light as they can move faster, send them into attack and then get them to run away, and then like I'd wait around for them to move again, and I'd have to delay until after their action and then go in, shoot, and run away. Because if I didn't do that, I'd get torn to shreds. And being able to do that sort of guerrilla warfare kind of style with battle mechs felt really interesting. It's like this is the advantage of lighter mechs that I hadn't seen before. Because normally, in my previous run, I'd been at the same stage, like in terms of having heavy mechs or medium mechs or assault mechs as the forces I was up against. That was cool. Knowing the importance of flanking makes such a difference in this game. Like being able to get behind something, you can kill things in one hit if you get a good shot, even from a light mech. It's really nice. And I've just liked the way it does a lot of this without giving kind of symbolic bonuses, I guess. Like, I haven't played much of the Total War games, but what I remember from what little I have played is like if you're coming in from the side, you get like some bonus to X or whatever. But in Battletech, it just matters because you're hitting different parts of the mech. Because hey, you're coming from the left, so you're hitting its left side, or you're coming from the back, so you're hitting its back, where there is just less armor. And
I remember that being part of our after show as well. You guiding me through like positioning and like shooting at parts that have specifically less armor. Or I would like remember that as being part of the mechanical experience there.
Yeah, it's interesting because in a lot of games it's like, okay, I want to focus fire on this enemy so I can get rid of them instead of spreading it out. But in Battletech it's also like, hey, I want to focus fire on specifically the left side of this enemy, and if they show you their right side, it's all still heavily armored, so you have to either get around them or get through that as well. Well, of course, the danger of facing your side onto an enemy is you're making it easier for them to get around to your back, which always has much less armor than anything else.
It's really interesting to like be thinking about terrain in games at all, really, especially when it comes to things like giving you advantages. Like I have been thinking about terrain a lot more in just the first-person shooters that I've been playing, and like trying to play the high ground and trying to watch my corners a little bit more. Just like general stuff to try and improve how I'm actually doing at the games. It's been working, by the way.
Nice.
Just being more aware of the terrain where possible has been hugely beneficial. Fine-tuning where I'm aiming to cover as many of the angles as I can has been like also hugely beneficial. I was streaming Rainbow Six last night even, and went 9-2 KD in a game where if you die, you're out for the round. Like that's it. So
how many rounds is that?
3 to win. I think there was 4 rounds in that game. I stayed alive for half of them the whole way through, but I ended up eliminating 9 people on the enemy team.
It's pretty good.
It's ridiculous.
Well done.
Like, I'm really proud of how much improvement has been made there just by virtue of thinking about the terrain for like once.
Yeah, it's interesting in games where you can control multiple units. Flanking is a thing that you've got much more access to.
Yeah.
If you're playing a single thing, you're relying on either the AI playing other people or actual people playing other people.
Yeah.
Depending kind of if you're you or me.
Or both if you're playing Titanfall.
Right, true. I remember realizing how not just Monster Hunter World, but the couple of games before that, when they introduced leaping attacks, they basically changed the terrain in the game, which had always previously been sort of a bunch of essentially platforms, like flat surfaces offset from one another, which turned it from kind of a not fun platforming challenge to get between areas into an opportunity to get a mounting attack if you jump and hit a monster in the air and you can possibly mount it. And suddenly you started thinking about terrain as a thing that didn't just get in the way or mess up your camera. Now it was an opportunity. So they've done great swapping that around there. I haven't actually tried, just a couple of days ago they released the new Switch Monster Hunter, and I haven't yet actually gone and bought a Switch. It will be the 5th console or something I would have bought for Monster Hunter if I do. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do it.
I mean,
Um,
like, by all accounts, World is still the superior version of that game, and so, like, going back might actually be...
oh yeah, I know what I'd be getting into, but
That's
I'm also
fair.
missing out on things like it. So my flatmate has got it. If my cousin and brother, who are the other people who I play Monster Hunter with, if they also get it, then we would be able to go back to being able to all be in the same room playing it together, which is something that having a handheld console has, which World doesn't really have.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely a different experience that isn't all worse. But you're right, a lot of the quality of life stuff from World will not be in there, absolutely. And I'm not expecting them to be.
Exactly. I think there was definitely some misconceptions among some of the critical press that, like, oh hey, Generations Ultimate is kind of like is going to be a new thing because it's after World. All of the quality of life improvements will be here. Nope, it's
No,
not. Super not.
it was only ever going to be a localization of Monster Hunter Double Cross, which was released in Japan before Monster Hunter World came out. So it's the what they've tended to do with their handheld games is have two versions. They've had the first one that comes out, and then the second one, which is kind of an expansion, but done as a standalone thing, where it's the same content from the first game plus an extra G rank after low rank and high rank, and they introduce a bunch of new content there. And it was only ever going to be the G rank version of Generations. And that's what I'd expect if I were getting it. So I don't think I'd be let down by the lack of World stuff. Although I would probably be really annoyed with having to go back to the old Hunter moveset, considering how I've really gotten into it in the World, but it's different um, in Generations, and I probably wouldn't. I don't think I've really got the hang of it on handheld. But yeah, I haven't tried it yet, so I shouldn't get too into that.
Yeah, fair.
One more thing that I can't go past while talking about BattleTech is that they've announced an expansion.
Oh yeah.
Called Flashpoint, which I think is coming in November, I think. Yes, coming in November. And it sounds cool. It's a new biome, couple of new mechs, one of which is melee focused, which is interesting because I have been trying since I got this game to make a good melee focused mech. You'll recall I turned the one I came up with the Death Trap because people I put in it kept dying. So that'll be interesting to have a proper melee focused mech. It's got an axe for an arm, so that'll be nice. But I think more important is they're adding new mission types, including like multiple consecutive deployment things where you can't repair your mechs in between. And it sounds like one of the mission types they want to encourage people to use lighter mechs in late game because the speed will matter more. And I think that sounds like a really good addition to the game. Because one of the things I've noticed, and I've particularly noticed in direct comparison to XCOM 2, since I've got back into that, is the mission variety in BattleTech is not great.
Mm-hmm.
Because aside from the story missions, which are well done, I reckon, pretty much every other mission type, regardless of what the objective is, becomes kill all the enemy mechs. And even if there is another objective, like destroy a base or capture a base by occupying it, that main objective always becomes secondary to destroy the enemy mechs, because you can just blow them up and then destroy the base or go stand on the base to capture it or something. So it never really feels like the focus of the mission. The closest ones to a good variety are the ones where you have to either destroy a bunch of fast-moving vehicles or stop some vehicles from being destroyed that you have to escort. But all of the ones that are like destroy a base or assassinate a mech or capture a base or recover something from a base, you just end up destroying the mechs first and then doing the objective. But by the time you're doing the objective, then there's nothing stopping you, so it's not interesting anymore to do that, I guess. Whereas XCOM 2 has got way more mission variety because you've got the stuff to like recover a person who you have to have someone carry or go and extract someone and control them on the way back. And they've got the mission timer that often means that you have to choose to focus on the objective and put your neck out a little bit, or you miss it in order to kill some more enemies and stop your people from dying, which it makes for a way more interesting balance within a mission, I think. So I'm hoping BattleTech gets a little more towards that with the new mission types.
Here's hoping.
But yeah, I kind of strayed into XCOM there, didn't I? Should I keep going?
Yeah, keep going. I want to hear about XCOM, and then we get into Far Cry 5.
Okay, so yeah, normally I don't get into XCOM until October. I guess it happened early this year. I don't know.
Yeah, your annual XCOM run has once again come around.
Yeah, pretty much. The new thing I've done this time is I've actually installed a bunch of mods. Nothing to really mess with the balance, although I have picked the difficulty customization option to halve the progression of the avatar project, which basically means that I don't have to worry about the timer until the game ends anymore. Unfortunately, I don't think it slows down the forced progression, which I'm not a fan of. That's alright, I'll deal. But the main stuff I've added for mods is just more customization. Because, I mean, honestly, customize your soldiers is somewhere where XCOM 2 shines, but from what I remember, you get so many options in the early game, but then as soon as you upgrade your armor, you have like 2 options for the rest of the game. So a couple of the mods I've got now let me just unlock that, and I can have like the chest of this armor with the arms of that armor and the legs of this armor. And it doesn't matter what they're actually wearing, I can just make them look like they're wearing whatever. And I can understand why that's not in the base game, but also, it's so much nicer now that I can properly customize people and know I will still be able to in the late game. It's just really freeing. Because I was always frustrated when late game everyone just had the exact same shape and different colours, and then their hair would be different because they were all wearing the sort of metal muscle suit, unless they had like the heavy metal muscle suit or the light metal muscle suit, and there were the 3 unique armors that made them look kind of alien-like, but then if you wanted those abilities you had to wear those armors. Now I can customize it more, which means that I can keep a soldier's style they've developed with that person, and also that means I can share around some of the stuff for the 3 new special classes added by War of the Chosen. So like my Reapers can now not always have a trench coat on, or I can put a trench coat on someone else. So that's actually been really nice to have, and just the visual customization is so much deeper than Battletech as well. Like it is nice being able to now customize the portraits and choose the voices of your mech warriors. But that's all it is. It's a portrait and a voice. What you see in game is always just the battle mech, and you get to customize the colors for everything at once. You can't have a battle mech that's got different colors to other ones. And the only other visual customization, aside from it looks a little different depending on which weapons it has mounted, is you choose one of several patterns for its paint. So there's like 5 variants of how the Shadowhawk can look or something, which is certainly better than not having that, but it makes it a lot shallower than XCOM. I would love to be able to customize the colors for an individual battle mech or something like that. I think it would make them feel a lot more unique. So yeah, I've been contrasting them a lot playing them. It's impossible to play them next to each other and not wish in this game that you had the stuff from that game and wish in that game you had the stuff from this game. So it's kind of annoying how I'm making myself enjoy them both less because I want the good stuff from each of them, but I mean, what am I going to do?
There's only so much that you can do.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm still enjoying them, right? So that's the main thing. But yeah, like I love how Battletech just lets you decide when the difficulty amps up. And even when it has, you can choose the easier missions. And if you've earned a lot of money, you can coast for a while. And yeah, you'll have less money, but the world's not going to end. And you don't have this constant increase of difficulty that you have to do something about.
Yeah.
Whereas I love XCOM's mission variety and the soldier customizations. I love the extra skills you get now with the War of the Chosen stuff, how everyone gets those extra skills they can pay points to get that they wouldn't normally have access to. That makes them feel special. And the way you can pair up your soldiers that they add in War of the Chosen as well. So yeah, they've both got a lot going for them, and I just, one day there'll be the perfect tactics game that has like all the best bits of each of them, but not yet.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, no, it's been good. I'm not very far yet in XCOM 2, but I think I'm going to play some after the recording, actually. Talking about has made me want to play it again. Right, do you want to go into Far Cry 5?
Oh my god, do I want to go into Far
Cry 5? I've been waiting for this.
Okay. One of the things here that I want to talk about is I have found a place in the game, and I'm gonna bury this lead for a little bit here. So
okay.
I found a place in the game that exemplifies a lot of problems with Far Cry 5. It just like takes every problem that exists in the game, and this one area puts an absolute laser focus on all of these bad things, all of the worst parts of this game. So I'm really excited to dig into that a little bit more. But let's talk about other things in Far Cry 5.
You're a troll, you know that?
I know I am. I this is what I mean. Like I've put it there. We're gonna come back to it because I have some nice things that I want to talk about in this game before I talk about how much it fucking sucks.
Okay, let's do nice.
Let's do nice first, and then I'll tear it to shreds. Technically speaking, it's gorgeous. It's probably one of the best looking games on a modern console right now. There's fantastic lighting, great use of like volumetric lighting, fog. There's great, like, just fantastic environments. It is just gorgeous.
Games have so much fog, though, right? Like, it doesn't look weird, but it's weird when you think about it.
Not really. Like, it was pretty foggy when I left this morning, even.
Okay, the last few days in Auckland have been very foggy.
Yeah,
but like playing Fallout 4, it's foggy every morning.
Yeah, that part is unrealistic, but like
it still looks good. It doesn't feel super odd when you're playing.
No, it doesn't. It just feels like part of the atmosphere. And Far Cry 4 isn't heavy on the fog, but it's there. Like you can see it a little bit.
Well, it's more like every sunset when I'm walking west, the trees have the sort of the fog lighting going on.
Yeah. There's lots of little things going on in that game that are kind of interesting. There's some buried lore here and there. Again, going to talk about this a little bit more in detail later, but there's a location referenced frequently in the lore, or a concept, I guess, which is called the Path. A pilgrimage that the people of Hope County, the fictional location where this takes place in Montana, are being forced to walk. You can actually go ahead and walk the entirety of it. It's a grand tour of an entire third of the map of that game. It's kind of actually really nice. It's just a thing you can do. Guns for Hire, which is the companion system in this game. It's vastly been improved over what it was in Far Cry 4, where you could just call in some guns for hire, and they would come to that location, and you didn't have any control over them necessarily.
I don't remember doing that in Far Cry 4. Did I just miss out on doing that?
I think you missed out on it, because it was a whole system.
Huh.
Far Cry 5 takes it to almost a Fallout kind of level, where you have like specific characters that can come along with you, and they have their own unique perks.
Oh yeah.
And unique perks, unique weaponry. You have a lot of control over them as well. Like you can tell them, "Hey, go take out that enemy," and they will go do it.
Mm-hmm.
It feels a little bit more like I said, it feels a little bit more like Fallout companions, like actual RPG companions who are there with you for a long time. If they get critically injured, they'll be unavailable for a few minutes, but then you can bring them back. You can also hire people, to your roster just from the world. There's lots of people that are willing to fight alongside you, and you can hire them alongside, and they have their own skills that reveal as they get kills. And
you just reminded me of the fact that Final Fantasy X has this whole like blitzball system where you can recruit people in the world that like I don't think anyone ever does because it's such a painful part of the game.
Blitzball's bad.
is, but like every now and then you talk to a person, and I'm like, wasn't there a button I can press to recruit this person? I don't remember what that is. Okay.
And that's where the nice things stop.
Yeah.
Now I get into being mean to the game.
Okay.
So, at certain points, as you destroy things and liberate parts of regions, you're building up a resistance of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
You will occasionally see a thing that comes up on screen that says "You've been blessed," which basically means that you're going to sit around for 5 minutes and then you will be arbitrarily forced into a cutscene.
What?
And it will change your location entirely and all this stuff, but basically it just means you're going to be arbitrarily forced into a cutscene at some point in the near future.
That seems weird.
Yep.
And not fun.
No, it's bad. It's bad because you could be doing a thing or on your way to do a thing and it'll just be like, surprise, drugs. And now you are knocked out. And when you wake up from the cutscene, you will be in an entirely different location. The story will have progressed.
Is this just a one-off thing, though?
Oh, no, it happens 3 times in every region.
Mm.
And one of the third time in one of these regions, I'm going to talk about because I'm very, very mad about it. The perk system's kind of busted and weird.
Yeah.
Instead of doing something like Wolfenstein, where if you wanted to get a perk, you had to do specific actions. If you want to get perks in the game, you have to do specific actions, but then you get points that you can arbitrarily spend on whatever, except the economy of them is really, really just slow and tedious, and there's not a lot of great ways to get perks. So one thing that you kind of end up having to do is side activities, which take you away from any of the main story, which are called prepper stashes. And they're little platforming puzzles that you can go to, and they have a few perk points and some money at the end. It's just it's not a great system.
Hmm.
The story, it's about as threadbare as you might have heard. It doesn't say anything. It says less than nothing. It's such a fucking frustrating game because it was marketed during E3 2017, and I could find interviews and stuff like that about how the director came out and was telling us it's about white supremacist cults, specifically using the language white supremacist, specifically using all of these sorts of language around the game, and people were like, yeah, all right, I'm here for this. And
yeah, it was definitely my expectation before it came out.
The game came out and it's none of that. It's nothing. It says less than nothing. There is a point which I think is open to a little bit of interpretation here. The game can't seem to crystallize what this cult, called the Project at Eden's Gate, it can't seem to crystallize what they believe. And I can't tell if that's the point or not. Maybe it is. If it is
that
the
seems
point...
like a weird point.
Well, the point that you could take from that is that, cults are shaky by nature and involve a lot of blind following. That's not made clear by the game, but it's certainly an expectation that you could, look at the lore of this cult that's been established and be like, what do these people actually believe? And maybe that's the point.
The cults tend to have at least something about their leader.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
super important, right? That's this person is Jesus reborn or whatever. That's probably the most common cult thing.
And it's not even that nice. Now we get into the fun thing that I took tons of notes on my phone for.
Mm-hmm.
So, remember that path that I mentioned earlier?
Yeah. You see, it's quite a nice tour of a third of the map.
Yeah, in theory.
Okay.
In theory, that is very much what it is. It exists in the world. You can go walk about it. It does some shit that I don't... It does a lot of shit. It's a garbage. It's all toilet trash.
You liked it then?
It just made me so mad. The first thing that it does is it reveals the game's reliance on violence exclusively as the driving force. As you go along the path, you are forced into all kinds of encounters. There's going to be people from the cult who are guiding just civilians along the pilgrimage, and you'll have to shoot them to progress. There will be...
Why?
You don't have to shoot the civilians, you have to shoot the cultists.
Why?
Because otherwise they'll turn around and kill you.
Oh.
Now...
What, you're walking their path? Isn't that what they wanted?
Yeah, I know, right? There is all kinds of animals that spawn along this path, most of them aggressive. Some of them are, wait for it, because I love the phrase that I'm about to get to say.
Okay.
Magic, zombie, drug, Wolverines. Thank
Is that
you.
what the game calls them?
No, it does not, but here's the thing about them.
Mm-hmm.
The magic drug that is in this game, Bliss, it causes people to hallucinate, and sometimes it will just spawn directly in front of you. It will spawn a hyper-aggressive Wolverine that will then attack you, and you have to shoot it to progress.
But
Now,
it's a hallucination.
No, it's very real. That's the thing.
What?
It just like magic spawn. It constantly does this. And in the worst case scenarios, and I took out my phone and I started fucking timing this because I was so annoyed by this.
Mm-hmm.
In the worst case scenarios, I'm required to shoot things to not die every 15 goddamn seconds.
Fucking hell.
Actually, in real worst case scenarios, it was 10 seconds. Separate encounters. Like, completely separate. I would deal with one thing, and I would start the timer, and then, a magic zombie drug Wolverine would spawn in front of me, and I'd be like, okay, I guess I have to deal with this now. And I would start the timer again. 10 seconds. It happened multiple times.
That's just ridiculous. It's really frustrating when games do that. They give you this one way to interact with the world, and that's by shooting it, and then they constantly give you things that you have to shoot. Like, if you don't, there isn't another option, running away. I mean, that's not really...
If it was like a linear, like Call of Duty or whatever, I wouldn't be bothered by this, but the fact that it's like an open world system that is openly just trying to distract you with its systems and near constant encounters, so much so that you can't actually participate in the world that you're in.
Yeah. It sounds like a game that I would hate because of that, honestly, because open world games, like I've talked about, I always want to just be in that world, kind of, and if it's something where it feels so unrealistic because, hey, regular people don't have to shoot things every 15 seconds.
Yeah, or like, even as I was just walking along the path, there would so frequently be like, oh, there's like a gunfight off in the distance, and like I can hear explosions and stuff going off constantly. There's no roads anywhere near where this is happening. Like, it's just, I'm out in the middle of the country, and there's this constant torrent of garbage.
Well, I mean, to be realistic, people might just be having dynamite fights. That happens all the time, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what the Good Springs showdown was in Fallout New Vegas. I didn't complain about that, now did I?
That's true, I'd forgotten about that.
The path also introduced a bunch of like concepts to the lore of the cult that it doesn't explain. They just kind of exist, which again, it kind of contributes to that like reading of like, hey, cults are shaky and they just require a lot of blind following and not using your critical thinking skills for literally a second. You look at Scientology, for example. Scientology I know that's an example that'll make you mad. But
well, I could go on for a long time, so I'm just gonna keep my mouth closed. Yeah,
but the point there is like you could conceivably make the argument about Far Cry 5 that it has this thing to say about like cults being shaky by nature, but it also like,
if it is making that point though, you're having to wonder if maybe if it's making a point, that's got to be it. It does a pretty weak job if that's what it's trying to do, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not making excuses for how poor the writing is in this game. It's just awful. All of it
really
is
a
bad.
shame.
And it's like the fact that it also explicitly uses imagery that's associated with white supremacist cults and then doesn't actually say anything about white supremacy is I hesitate to say this, but it's almost offensive.
It's
Like
such
how could you do that and not say anything about it?
It's such an obvious missed opportunity.
Yeah.
It's so obvious that you can't not see it.
Yeah, back on topic. There's signposts along the path with like supposedly the core tenets of the cult, but they say less than nothing about what they actually believe.
Do you have any notes on what they were? I'd be interested to hear it.
I mostly just have notes on the concepts that they tried to introduce.
Okay.
The concept of the collapse, which I think is the only that's the only thing I can actually parallel is to like a doomsday kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
But then it introduces like the concept of, hey, we need souls and material goods. Like what? Hang on, hold on. Nothing about this was said. Joseph Seed hears the voice. Okay, what is the voice? Is it the voice of God? Is it just? Is it? I don't know what this is. It doesn't explain any of this.
Yeah, that just feels like you said, it feels more like they didn't want to nail it down rather than just a cult being vague, because these are questions that anyone they want to join the cult would also ask, right?
Yeah.
So anyone they're trying to get in, so yeah, it feels like a cop-out.
It totally is. And
if it's not, then it's just a bad job. Like, there's no good outcome.
And now to the worst part of this.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, I know, it gets worse. Going along this, like, lore-important location and killing the things that it was literally putting them in my path, I was arbitrarily forced off of the path because I got the resistance meter fully built up or whatever. I was expecting, if that fills up, I'll have a location that I'll actually need to go to, and that'll be the final event. Nope. By doing the things that the game... Yeah, by doing things the game forced me to do, it teleported me far, far away, wasted my time for 2 goddamn hours, and made me completely lose all of my progress walking along the path. So I was very fucking annoyed.
I would have thought one of the most obvious things about building an open world game would be don't teleport the players when they don't want to be and haven't had a chance to prepare to be teleported.
Holy shit. It's
like if it's part of a story and you're talking to someone, they're like, hey, if we do this, it's going to take you away. Sure. But not just I'm walking along and suddenly, bam, I'm somewhere else. Like that.
Yep,
what?
basically.
No.
There is a better mechanic in other regions, I have been told, around that teleportation stuff. Because hit squads come after you and actually, like, trigger the You've Been Blessed event, basically, by shooting you with bullets coated in this drug.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a bad bit of... No.
It's still bad, but
just have dart guns, fuck's sake.
It's better than the alternative of you're instantly just teleported.
I don't know that it is, because I'm just instantly thinking, wait, no, you can't just coat bullets in a drug.
No.
You'll just kill people and the drug will have been vaporized when you shot the bullet. Like, it's a dumb idea.
Ash, who is my wife, she pointed out that the game in development had brought in like specialists on cult psychology and why cults were formed and all this stuff.
How did
they did extensive research on all of this and then ignored it and said, "A magic drug made everyone do cold." Far Cry 5 is a bad game. I'm going to continue playing it to see how long I can... No, it's a bad game. I'm going to continue playing it to see how long I can stand it and to see if, by some fucking miracle, it actually manages to do something interesting. But there's only so much of this that I can stand.
I mean, you don't owe the game anything, so if there's another one you enjoy more, right?
I don't owe it anything, but I kind of, like, part of me wants to keep going to understand why I don't like this game, why it is bad, and so that I can talk about it. I can talk about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
These are the reasons that this game is bad and doesn't work for me. And then I'm going to play Wolfenstein 2, the most, like, high contrast, like, aggressively political thing that I can think of. I'm going to play the shit out of that immediately after I stop playing Far Cry 5.
Fair enough. You can sort of wash the bad taste out of your mouth with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It needs to be washed out. Like, I can already feel myself wanting to stop.
And you can just stop.
I know I can, but again, I really want to understand, hey, why doesn't this game in particular work for me?
Okay. I mean, it sounds to me like you've got plenty of good reasons already, but if you want more, then don't let me stop you.
I absolutely want more. I'm a masochist. Not actually, but when it comes to video games, there's something worthwhile in playing mediocre games. I forget exactly who said this, but I believe it may have been either Austin Walker or Patrick Klepek. But someone has said that there is value in playing mediocre games because it creates a greater understanding of what you do not like in that game. There's no value in playing bad games necessarily, like games that are just relentlessly bad. Like there's no point in playing like a Hatred, for example. It's just a bad game. But there's something worthwhile in pursuing a game like Far Cry 5 insofar as it's a bad game that has elements that are good enough that like you could conceivably enjoy some of it. And you'll come out with an understanding of what you didn't like in that game more so than you will like the good stuff. You'll figure out like, oh, this is why I didn't like this game. This is why it didn't resonate with me. I figured I can understand that now.
It's definitely valuable. Have you ever heard of survivor bias?
Survivor's bias? Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly this, I reckon. It's like you can look at 10 games and say, hey, look, here are things that good games do, but then you play 10 mediocre games and they also do them, and it turns out that's actually not what makes a good game good. It's because it does this well instead of doing it poorly, and here's how it's done poorly and stuff like that.
It really creates...
It's why I roll my eyes every time I see something like, oh, the 10 habits of highly successful people. It's like, no, fuck you. Everyone does that.
Yeah. There's always some value in creating that understanding of your own taste when it comes to games and media and stuff.
That too, definitely.
That is always something that is worth pursuing and understanding, because the more that you understand your own personal taste, the more you can be a wise consumer as well, and just get the things that are interesting to you, and you automatically just filter out the bad stuff by knowing like, oh, you know, I've tried this style of game before, and I know that this doesn't work with me, or this series doesn't work with me, this setting doesn't work with me.
Yeah. It's actually why it can be nice to be able to let people try games sometimes, so they don't have to spend $100 to find out they don't like something.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Now that I'm done being mad about Far Cry 5, shall we wrap up this episode?
Yeah, sure.
What are you looking forward to playing this coming week?
I'm going to play some XCOM 2 right when we end the session, I think. Talking about it has made me want to play it more, because I haven't got back to seeing a lot of the content in it, and it's the different mission types that I like the most. The fact that it does its maps better than Battletech as well, just in terms of having more variety, is cool too, because Battletech has a set number of maps that it draws from, and the maps are all good, but sometimes you'll recognize the map and you know it's the whole thing, whereas XCOM has bits and pieces it pulls together to make a map, so you'll never see the exact same one twice. Another thing I can't help but contrast when I'm playing both of them. I'll probably play both of them in this coming week. I don't know what else I'll touch, if I might do more Dead Cells or something else. I'm not sure. Sort of depends on what I feel like playing. How about you?
You hear about Destiny? It's got a new expansion coming out.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Okay, Destiny 2 has a new expansion coming out. So there are two things that I'm looking forward to. First, tomorrow, there is a 24-hour availability on one of the new modes that's coming to Destiny 2, which is a hybrid player versus environment and player versus player mode.
I thought PvE was player versus enemies. It doesn't make sense, really, when players can be enemies, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. It's player versus environment, stuff that is placed in the world. So I'm going to be trying that out tomorrow pretty extensively. In concept, it's interesting too. Like that, I really like the idea of the mode is called Gambit, and basically what happens, you are making a gambit. You have the ability to send players over to the enemy team, just one player, to wreak havoc on their side, but you will lose damage against bosses and stuff like that on your side. So you have to decide what is more valuable, temporarily delaying the other team or speeding up your own, basically.
So it's like you're both trying to kill a boss first.
Basically. You'll have to kill a certain amount of enemies and deliver items to a bank. Once there are enough items banked, then a boss will spawn, and the first person to kill that boss wins.
Right.
But you can send players over to the other side to disrupt the other team's efforts. Mm-hmm. Among other things, you can also send bosses and stuff like that. It's really interesting in concept, and I can't wait to see how it works in practice.
Nice.
So that's tomorrow, and then the expansion itself launches on Wednesday at 6 a.m.
New Zealand time?
Yep. I don't know.
Is that a worldwide same time release?
It is a worldwide simultaneous release. I don't know if I'm going to be up for it, but I probably will be. I don't know. I might need to just do it.
6 a.m. is a bad time, though. 6 a.m. is a bad time. Just all
I know
bad.
It's extremely cursed, but I can't help but want to check out the new stuff as fast as possible. You know.
Sure.
Oh. All right. Well, that concludes this week's episode of PauseCast. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard and want to support the show, we have a few ways you can do that. The first is by supporting us by leaving a rating, review, sharing the show with friends. All of that stuff helps us out a whole heck of a lot. If you do that, we really, really appreciate it. We also have a couple ways you can support the show financially. The first is you can donate to our coffee at bit.ly/pausecoffee. And the second is you can donate to us month to month using Patreon. We're patreon.com/pausecastshow. Thank you to all of our existing patrons. Mary, Moth, Para, Sammy, Dove, Gray, Ash, and Corey Bat. Thank you all for your continued support of the show.
Thank you.
It really means a lot.
Yeah.
You can also contribute to the show by sending us emails, pausecastshow@gmail.com. Thank you to Leon for the use of our theme song, Honey Milk Island. You can find Leon's music and download some of it for free at soundcloud.com/LEYAWN. Mark.
Yeah.
Where can people find you online?
I'm on Twitter at HonestUniverse, and I write a blog as well, though not about video games, at honestuniverse.com. I'm going to plug something this time, because since the last recording, I've published Transparency Investigation I've been working on since February. So if anyone is interested in the Official Information Act in New Zealand and how it's being used or abused, I've got a lengthy article you can read at features.honestuniverse.com/OIA-delays.
You can also find that article by visiting bit.ly/OIA delays.
Thanks for that.
No problem. All right, and that is going to do it.
No. Where are you online?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yep. I forgot that I exist online. I'm sorry. I'm terminally online, and yet I forget. You can find me at bird.school. You can also find me... You can find me at bird.school. You can also find me streaming at mixer.com/tealqt.
It's TIEL, not TEAL.
Yep, that's correct. I switched over to Mixer recently. Just in case you also listen to the live versions of our shows on occasion, those streams are going to be moved over to Mixer as well. As a result of some of Twitch's questionable policy changes, shall we say, I have elected to leave the platform entirely. I figured that was for the best. So if you'd like to listen to the show, it'll be on Mixer from this point forward. All right, and that is going to do it for this week's episode of PauseCast. Thank you so much for listening. We really, really appreciate it. And until next week, see you around.